I've helped hundreds of online coaches sell tens of millions of dollars of online coaching with ads. And today I'm going to share with you the top 3 reasons why most coaches never see success with ads, why they fail time and time again. They get stuck and they never seem to crack it. So if you want to make a ton of money with your coaching business, the best way to do it is with ads, because as Alex Hormozi says, business is math. If you know your numbers, there's no reason you shouldn't be spending more. And Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels, one of the OGs in the space, says if you can profitably spend $1 to make $2, why would you ever stop? And so today I'm going to share with you an example on some of the basic numbers when it comes to ads, and then the top 3 reasons why most people fail. And I'll explain each one individually as well. And I'll throw a bonus one at the end if you stick around. So let's get cracking. Let's say you're like, all right, Jeremy, I want to spend $100 a day on ads, right? 3K a month. Cool. I only have an appointment setter, which I pay about 5% commission, which is pretty standard. My overhead, let's say it's $2,000 a month. That could be content editor, that software assistant, stuff like that. And so on average, usually what our clients see anywhere from like a 4 to an 8x return on their ad spend. Let's play pretty conservatively here and just say a 5x return. I see anywhere from like a 12 plus, and I have clients, like I just interviewed a client last week, who's seeing like a 30 something X return on his ads, which is absolutely disgusting. But very uncommon, I will say. So don't expect that. Let's say 5X, pretty good to shoot for, especially kind of like with this kind of ad spend and a bit of a, like, yeah, kind of stuck anywhere from like somebody comes into the program, they're like 5 to 30K a month. And then after like, I don't know, a month or two, usually we see at least this, and then it can ramp up and scale. So with that said, here's what you can expect. If you have a 5X return, you're turning $100 into $500 revenue, right? And that's a day. Monthly, that's 15K. Your expenses, this is including your ad spend plus the sales commission plus your overhead daily and monthly as well, right? And so with that, you're looking at 500 minus 192 is $308 profit, or 15K minus 6K is 9K profit with 62% margins, right? Pretty standard. Margins should be a little bit higher. Like I said, this is pretty standard. And if you're only spending this much, like probably not, maybe spending a couple grand a month. Maybe you are, I don't know. But nonetheless, what most people get wrong here is they think in scarcity mode. This is point number 1, is they have a scarcity mindset when it comes to ads, because the nature of ads is very scary, because you're spending money today without knowing if or when you're going to ever make a return on it down the road, right? So you're basically, just like any investment though, you're spending $100 today. And you're like, I hope, my theory is that I will be making at least $100 sometime down the road from this $100 I'm spending today. And so most people, when they're starting out, they focus on what they're spending. They focus on the lack, what's going out, what they're losing, right? Which is the $100 here. However, what they don't understand is that they're actually gaining $308 net, all said and done, after this, and this, every single day. So for every $100 you spend, it should actually be a good thing. You should flip it on its head and tell yourself, like, kind of brainwash yourself, be like, hey, I'm not actually spending or losing $100 today. I'm actually basically guaranteeing myself that I'm making $308 today. I'm putting $308 in my pocket for every day I spend $100 in ads. So that's like one of the biggest frame shifts that you have to have when you're starting to get into ads, because like I said, it's scary. The nature of the beast is very unpredictable and uncertain. However, when you know what you're doing, you have everything dialed in. You've got really good ads, you've got really good appointment setting, really good sales assets and content, and really good sales process and delivery process, then like there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting at least a 5X, right? I have tons of clients that get way higher than this at scale, doing 7 figures, and everything else like tracks and scales pretty relatively similar too. And so you got to get out of the logical, or you got to get out of the scarcity mindset. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, one of the biggest reasons why people fail is because they're emotional. Humans are emotional by nature, and that's good and that's bad. It's good because we're chasing feelings all the time. And if something feels off, then we don't want to do it anymore. And usually we can kind of listen to our intuition there. However, it's bad in business, especially when it comes to ads, because you can make stupid decisions and shoot yourself in the foot and self-sabotage very easily because your emotions are fleeting. They come, they go, right? And they fluctuate all the time. And so I've seen way too many people are like, if they just laid their numbers out like this, or they looked at like the tracking sheet or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm turning $1 into $5. I have a legitimate legal money printer. For every dollar I spend, I get 5x return, or 3x after all said and done. I turn $100 into $300 profit. You found an infinite money glitch, my friend, right? But most people turn that off. And then they're like, oh, I'd rather invest in the S&P 500 to get 7% return in a year on my money instead of like at least a 3 to 5x return in the next 30 days on my money, consistently and predictably. Because yes, it's going to fluctuate. Some months might be a 7, some months might be 4, right? And like overhead goes up, maybe hire a closer. But then usually, like when that's the case, everything else is going to kind of fluctuate, and this will either stay the same, or usually like sometimes it drops a little bit at scale until you hit your sweet spot. And then especially like the more you do it though, the better you get at everything, the better you refine all your processes. So then this should usually crank up to like 6 to an 8 at least. And that's pretty standard with a lot of the clients that we see. And if you don't believe me, go check out my YouTube interviews. I've got over 50 interviews on my YouTube channel, my client success stories playlist, where I interview some of my clients, and you can hear it from them. So don't take my word for it, because people on the internet can be full of shit. So do your homework. But you want to make sure that you're running your business by the numbers. You want to be logical when you're looking at this, so you don't make emotional decisions and throw in the toilet an infinite money glitch in a printer that gives you $308 in your pocket, all said and done, after putting $100 in within like a month. You would have to be like, knowing this, you'd have to be a big fool to do that. And so don't fall into that trap. I see way too many people get emotional because all they focus on, like point number 1, is the scarcity, the loss. Oh my gosh, I just spent $3,000 on ads. And then it's like, dude, you made 15, 9 all said and done. You're chilling, you're profitable. Most people would kill to have a business like this. And guess what? Instead of 3K next month, what if we spend all of the money, put it back into here, and we raise our ad spend? Boom. We put our 9K back in ads next month, $300 a day, right? Everything else stays the same. Now all of a sudden we're making 31,000 net. Profit margin actually went up because our overhead stayed the same. And so when I first started, it was literally just me and a setter. And when I scaled to 200K a month, I had 87% margins because my overhead was super low. I was doing everything myself and I was working like a dog, keep in mind. But my ads were crushing, my content was crushing, my setter was crushing. I was closing. I had like 70, 80% closing rate because my marketing was so good, and it was unreal, right? And so this isn't unnormal. It's not irregular. So anyways, and then guess what? Maybe next month you're like, hey, I want to raise my budget. I want to spend $500 a day. Boom. Now you're fit. Like, this is how people scale. This is how you scale. You can't do this with organic. You can't just like, organic's way too like linear. And like, there's a point where your inputs can't keep going higher anymore. And so the last point I want to share with you in this video before we get to the bonus, keep in mind there's a little bonus there, is instead of looking at the percentage, they look at the dollar amount. So one of my mentors, Dan Martell, we were chatting a while back, this is last year sometime, and we were talking about like big problems. Like the more you grow, the bigger problems you have. And he's like, yeah, but you can't look at the dollar amount because the dollar amount scares your old identity. It scares who you once were
because like somebody like, for example, like 3 years ago, I couldn't even fathom spending 15K a month on ads. I was like, dude, I'm not even making anywhere close to that, right? So that's a lot of money as a dollar amount. However, as a percentage amount, what's this? Like $15,000 divided by $75,000. It's 20%, right? And so if you just look at the percentages instead of the dollar amount, then you're going to be fine. And the reason for this is like I said, you're going to get very emotional and afraid and scared and nervous spending $15,000 in a month or $500 a day. Your Visa, your MasterCard, your Amex is getting rang up $500 every single day. Boom, 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 without fail, right? It's scary. However, when you understand this, you're like, oh, I'm not actually spending $500 today. I'm actually making $2,500 today. I'm actually netting $1,800 today. And you're looking at the percentages and the return instead of just the dollar amount. That brings you so much closer down to earth. It grounds you so much more, because down is like, yeah, it's like my team's expensive. However, as a percentage of revenue, they're not. It's pretty standard. And so that's how you kind of level up your identity when it comes to money and your relationship with money, especially when it's money that you're spending out of your own pocket or you're putting on credit cards and you're hoping, crossing your fingers that you get a return at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you can turn $500 into $1,800 or $15,000 into $54,000 with 72% margins, you are one happy camper. You are one lucky entrepreneur. You are one person that most people on this planet would envy and would probably do unspeakable things to be in your shoes and have an infinite money glitch and a money printer that just spits out cash like something like this. And so that's why if you can profitably spend $1 to make $2, why the hell would you ever stop? And if you know your numbers, there's no reason you shouldn't be spending more, which is why I showed you the example, right? I've got clients spending like $1,000 a day. Boom. $1,000 a day, 30K a month, 150K a month, 110 net profit, all set. Now, this is a horrible example. Don't do that. Overhead's going to go way up. You're probably going to get a sales rep. Maybe this is closer to like 12,000 with like coaching and stuff like that. However, you're still making $85,000 net profit before tax. Boom. Right. And again, this is a drastic, like, oversimplification, just as an example. So this is not, you can't expect this. I'm not promising shit because I would be full of it. But nonetheless, like, this is pretty standard. And so I just wanted to share an example with real like, they're not real because they're fake, but you get the point. Just to drive those 3 points home, right? Number one is abundance over scarcity. Just to recap. Number two is logic over emotion. Number three is percent over dollars. And then bonus is testing. If you want to learn how to get a higher return on your ad spend, test more ads. The person who tests the most ads gets the highest returns because they've got the most data. They've got the most feedback. They know what's working, what's not, and they know how to make things better. And they're manipulating all of the inputs, then hopefully generate a better output. And you also have to understand too, it's like you have the best ad in the world, but like if your content, your setting, your sales process sucks, then like you're not going to get a solid return, right? But also keep this in mind. Let's say you test, you're testing tons and you're getting really damn good. Well, what if this 5X turns into an 8? Now all of a sudden we're doing 162 net with 68 margins compared to 85, right? And so that jump, 85 to 162, we almost doubled our net profit, which is absolutely insane, right? And so would you spend $30,000 a month to make 162,000 net profit at the end of the day? I would. And I have. Not exactly this to this, but like pretty damn close. So that's it for the video. If you want to get help to build a money printer, to run some ads and kind of dial things in, then book a call down below. Links in the description. We'd love to chat. Like I said, we've helped hundreds of coaches sell tens of millions of dollars online, and we'd love to help you next to actually deliver some consistency and predictability into your business, the consistency that you've been craving since you first started. And so if you're tired of just posting and praying or relying on organic referrals, cold DMs, whatever, and you want to get out of the organic grind, book a call down below. We'd love to chat. You can also check out the main video on my channel where I break down the entire funnel and process and everything like that too in a lot more detail. So that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Bye.